Right, let's call to order the April 6th, 2022 Citizens Advisory Committee meeting. Melissa, would you like to take roll?
Certainly. Vice Chair Will Knight,
Present.
Committee Member Wheaton,
Present.
Committee Member Harrington,
Present.
Committee Member Lumiere,
I'm here.
Committee Member Moon,
Here.
Committee Member Lawrence, Committee Member Barney,
Here.
Committee Member Castillo, Committee Member Rizzo,
Present.
Committee Member Henshaw,
Present.
and Chair Reynolds.
I'm here. All right. We have a lot of us in here. Chris, you want to lead Pledge of Allegiance? You good at it?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So there is no public in the auditorium. I see we have Paul Wilcox on Zoom. Paul, do you have anything regarding non-agenda items tonight?
No, I don't. Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you. Then we will move to the first discussion item, which is potential city council liaison. Before we do that, I should mention that our guest speaker tonight, Rebecca Sanchez, will not be present and not be providing a presentation tonight. And for the record, Diane Castillo White is here. Melissa, do you want to introduce the potential city council liaison discussion?
Sure. All right, so I put up on this, oh, have I shared this? I haven't, just a moment. Okay, I put up on the screen to share with you two code sections that we have recently been discussing this month. Discovered that Troutdale Municipal Code does allow for CAC to have a city liaison if we are interested. After our last meeting last month, we've reviewed code, and some of you have heard that City Council has also discussed code and council participation at committee meetings. And so we've found the first code listed here, 2.08.250 says actually that City Council should not become involved in discussions of the committees unless they're a liaison member. And then another code section here, 2.20.060 says that our committee could have a liaison and they can be appointed by council, but we wanted to have the discussion with all of you first before we ask council to appoint a liaison to our committee here. So this would be up to us to ask We can have a discussion tonight about the benefits of it or the drawbacks if we would like to do this. A liaison member from council could provide us a neutral summary of the activities that council is taking, the discussions that council is having. And that liaison member could also give a summary back to council of anything that we wanted to convey. So that might be a relationship that we can set up, but I want to turn it to you, and Chair Reynolds wanted to turn it to you to discuss to see if that is something we'd like to do.
Anybody have any comments or thoughts or opinions on this topic? David?
My personal feeling, I don't mind if the city council is in attendance, but I don't like when they talk,
Okay.
because I think that provides an adverse influence on our discussion.
Okay.
It also makes it look like whatever discussion we're having might be fait accompli, and makes me think, why am I here? So unless the liaison is speaking on behalf of the council, I just prefer that they do like we would do if we were at a council meeting and observe, speak to a specific issue if necessary, as a person maybe. But if they're here to kind of, I'm not sure what the role of a liaison is. But to interject their personal feelings in a discussion, I think is out of place and somewhat limits our discussion.
So to recap, you are not in favor of having a liaison.
I want to know what the purpose of it is, of what it would gain us that we haven't already been doing.
Okay.
Because we're to provide a recommendation or a task of some sort that we argue about ourselves and come to consensus, and then we make that presentation to the council to reject or modify or whatever they want to do. I think that's a good system.
Okay. Anyone else have any thoughts or? Diane?
Okay, Diane Castillo-White, and I'll read something that I had written recently. Being part of the Troutdale committees, I question the value of having a council liaison. As the council liaison on the citizens committees may dominate influence, often speak more than the committee members, and many times have positions that oppose the majority's will. I feel the CAC should, without council influence, represent the people through their voices. Some members of the CAC on the first night of the stipend discussion felt uncomfortable and possibly intimidated by the presence and opinions of the councilors. I did not, but it has taken me years not to feel intimidated, overawed, and influenced by the council while taking part in conversations pertaining to matters of the city in front of the council. The Citizens Advisory Committee can get more information on their agenda topics by viewing applicable video or audio meetings from planning, parks, or council. One councilor may not have the opinions and knowledge of all the other councilors collectively, so possibly giving an unbiased input to the CAC discussions. The CAC is tasked with giving a recommendation to council on items given to them by council. I believe it is better to let the capable CAC have uninfluenced conversations. The council always has the last meeting, word, and vote. And then I had a couple of other ideas if it was because they thought we didn't have enough information, that I thought also for the councilors, to the councilors, that it'd be advisable for them to listen to the CAC audios on important topics for council to understand the decisions and intent that led to a decision by the CAC. I also have written to a few people. I appreciated Ms. Glantz listening at meetings. She remains out of the conversation, and it's clear that she is just there to be informed. I do believe that some CAC meetings, it is important to have planning staff, like that have knowledge about past Troutdale history of planning, and it was no disrespect to you, Melissa. I'd only meant that, I'd written it to Chris that like when we're talking transportation and we were talking about widths of roads or different topics, so Chris might understand the way past previous discussions that led to where we are now with the transportation planning discussion. And that maybe when appropriate, if there might be somebody that could add information that were needed, that we could ask a question on some of the biggies at pertinent times of decision making, that might be a suggestion. So that's all I have on this issue.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Kelly, I don't think you can see my hand raised, so I'll just jump in. I appreciate everything that everyone has said, and agree with them. And I guess my big thing is, I don't know what it means. I don't know what it would look like. And so I feel like I need a lot more information before I can make any kind of educated decision. Thank you.
Amasa?
Just kind of, yeah, I agree with everybody else. I wouldn't mind some more knowledge just about what the city council is doing, sort of like maybe a presentation, an objective presentation just with facts and statistics, or, you know, something that's non-opinion. But to have, yeah, opinions come in, you know, especially when we're supposed to be, we want to be able to make non-biased decisions, and when we hear from other council members' opinions that can persuade or intimidate, you know, to make a decision a different way. So, but like, I remember, you know, since probably I'll know that my husband is on the city council, and he said, I had questions about the 2nd Street Bridge, and he said, well, they were already talking about it. And I didn't feel like maybe we had gotten the knowledge, you know, at the same time that they did. So that would have been useful, either whoever made the presentation at city council to then make it for us, or just kind of learn about what they're discussing so we can be prepared in the future. And that will help guide us. You know, a couple times ago, we were talking about like what things do we want to discuss in the future, and that might help guide us of also what city council is important to them. It might just give us some different ideas too, and can look more in depth at various things.
Anyone else? Victoria?
Just to be on the record, I did not feel intimidated at all. I was glad to hear what they had to say, but I also understand that we shouldn't be hearing opinions. And I agree with the fact that presentations would be great, especially if it's something they want us to look into without the opinion. I should have realized it. I thought it was in Robert's Rules of Order, and that maybe they weren't supposed to speak. But we sort of asked them to speak too when they were there. So just to let you know, I didn't feel intimidated. I wasn't swayed either any which way. So I just wanted that to be on the record.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to provide input? Chris?
Well, so at first, when this was brought up, I guess I was a little confused, but having heard what some of the others said, I guess I do feel similarly, because I do remember a while back when we were tasked by the council to discuss voting methods, and we had a series of meetings on that. And then we were supposed to tell them the consensus we came to, and I remember a meeting where some counselors were there, including some who are no longer on the council, but I'm not gonna name names. And I don't know, that meeting got me a little off guard because it felt at one point almost like I was sparring, so to speak, with this particular person. And I'm not even sure who was right because it's a little foggy as far as memories, but that wasn't a very comfortable thing for me. And as I'm sure we all know, none of us appreciated what they did with the decision we gave them. So it felt like a big impolite gesture to be quiet about it. So,
I actually forgot, I didn't forget about it, but I didn't think about it. Why wasn't this brought up
At the top three. Yes.
when the voting thing was happening and we had all those counselors?
Yeah. Well, bless Sandy's heart. She has tried over and over and over very politely to tell me I'm not supposed to speak at this meeting. I did not know that there was a city ordinance preventing them from speaking at these meetings. And so I apologize if any of you felt uncomfortable last time. If you feel like you have been unduly swayed regarding the upcoming discussion, please, you should speak up and recuse yourself from the discussion. And if we have quorum once we're done with that, then we'll move forward with the discussion. But anybody who feels that they have been inappropriately influenced or don't feel that they can objectively discuss this based on their own thoughts and their own opinions, please say so and accept my deepest apologies. Well,
Yeah, Will Knight. Yeah, a couple of things that kind of been touched on before. Maybe you can help to have the conversation to help me answer these questions for myself. I think we feel like that there's a lot of good information and context to the issues that we can gain from having the opinions of the passionate people that are passionate about them to be shared. And of course, we're trying to make it so it's not an argument or a back and forth or being a sparring match or having anybody being unduly influenced. That being said, what does a council liaison look like? Is that a member of the council? Is that a staff member? Is that a third party? Is that something that maybe you could take on? Or is that something they could do in the form of maybe just submitting written comments about what their thoughts are or a context to the issue? So I feel like, I gotta shout out Paul here. He did an amazing job of giving some great context to this issue. If you went through and read some of the information he sent along, and I feel that sort of context is important. And I wouldn't want to, if the only knowledge holder were people on council, to be spared from sharing that information. But how do we walk that line of being able to get that context to the issue, while at the same time not having opinionated arguments or speeches being done? And I'm just wondering, maybe, has this been done recently? And if so we're kind of breaking new ground, is that right? Sounds like potentially.
We would be, at least in the recent past, it seems that this code has been forgotten by most of us in the city. I had never seen it before. I found it right after the meeting. So I also apologize. I'm sorry that I didn't know that rule, because had I known that, we would have structured the meeting quite differently, and I did not know. We then discussed it as staff, and staff then brought it to council. So there have been many discussions about council's participation in committees. As far as the liaison role, it's not defined in code. We don't have a lot to go on, and not a lot of recent memory to go on. But it sounds to me like maybe interest is a little bit low in it, which is okay, but maybe some people might be interested if it were clearly defined. So maybe it would need to be adopted in code or written up in our bylaws what the position would entail, that it would be like a strictly factual summary going back and forth between. I can see from code that it would be a council member that would be appointed, and that the appointment would be by council. So we would let them know that we're interested and they would do the appointment. So we could so some options, if we are interested in continuing the conversation, we could write up what we would want that role to be and then take that to council and say we're ready for an appointment, or we could not continue with the discussion. That would be fine too.
Alexander?
Well, I echo what some people have said, but none of us in any of these committees working on a vacuum. And so I think information shared back and forth is a great idea, and it could save a lot of time when we're trying to come to a boil about some issue, to know as much as we can by having a liaison. But that person could just be an informational courier, so that we clear up any problems in policy or specific language. But I think opinions should not be welcome. And when you hear a council member say, well, I think that, it irks me, because that's not the purpose, I feel, of us sharing information. I think that we should talk to each other, but only to pass information back and forth. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane, did you have something?
Yeah, the thing about the back and forth thing, the thing I liked about Sandy Glantz coming and listening was that Sandy Glantz listened, and then she did that for information for her, so she would understand what's going on here, so that for her own information. So when it went to council, that she, like I said, I think she was trying to understand intent or what was going on and such. There's nothing that stops a counselor from listening to the audio. I don't know if sometimes they could see the Zoom, if it's easier for them to do a playback on Zoom to see faces, if that would be more important to them. Do you know what I mean? If they were interested in what was discussed at the last meeting. We have had a liaison before, and it was Jamie Krantz, if you remember, the town center. And what had happened was she was part of the planning person from a group of different diverse people, then she was in there. And so then she is bright, she is full of information and such, and that's what I was writing about. Sometimes they speak and it might be different than the generalized we the people for the people are speaking. I felt that was our opportunity. She had some great ideas, yes, but the council then gets their turn. And they just slice it up, dice it up. Like, I don't even know how many of the counselors watched any of the town center meetings or listened to the town center meetings to even understand and comprehend the 3 years input and data that we put in. Did you see what I'm saying? So then, and that's why I said that the one counselor may not have the opinions and knowledge of all the other counselors collectively. So if we get one counselor in here and we start letting them talk and them speak and them giving their perspective, then as well-intended and professional and well-informed as it is, I think could be muted. Our voices may not be as strong, because a lot of us are at different times of like, how many years have we been here, whatever. I was truly intimidated. I would shake like a leaf every time I try to go to council meeting and speak to something I was interested in. I feel like I was going to pass out, faint, and die right now. That's just me. Okay, that took me a while to get, years to get past that. I don't know what the issue was, but it did. Go to metro meetings, whatever it was, even though as a citizen, I had something to say. So those are the kind of some of the reasons why, just like I like to hear and go to council meetings to hear what they have to say. I was hoping that, like, on the biggies, they do listen to us, like on the election, the top 3. That would have been amazing for them to listen to that, to understand why it wasn't 8-3. Here are the pros and cons of both everybody's opinions and what they're just, what went into that thought process. And then they could have gleaned, to me, more information pertinent to their final decision making instead of 8-3. I mean, what does that mean? So that's why I was kind of trying to throw some suggestions that how can we get educated more without having the liaison? But then I was kind of tossing it back at the council too. How can you all get a little bit more informed too, when we were tasked with that information first before then it went to them?
Second, Twyla. Heidi, did you have something?
Oh, that was really spot on, Diane. Well, okay, so I don't know. Diane was very prepared and like wrote down her statements, and I which is so kudos. But did we know that we were going to be talking about this tonight? I don't think it was in our packet, was it? Okay, so I feel like if I had known, then maybe I could have come a little bit more prepared.
The agenda published, Heidi.
It was published.
Yeah, on the agenda that you received,
But no-
Okay, well then it's
No staff report
but
though.
no
so-
staff report on it.
okay. You know, honestly, when I saw staff liaison, I thought it meant one of us going there. So I was confused. Anyway, I think, oh, okay, so I had two things. So if we're asking them to do something else, a staff to be a liaison, then that's one more reason to pay them. And it's just like another thing you're asking. And then the question of bias and opinion is interesting. I mean, what is there code written about how we are supposed to behave at council meetings versus CAC meetings? What are we allowed? Are we allowed to have our personal opinions? I mean, to me, I'm an engaged stakeholder from my neighborhood, and it seems clear to me that I'm being asked to give my opinion based on my life experience and my knowledge. But if that's not accurate, then I would like to know that. And then there's also the, city councilors are human beings, so they're going to have an opinion and they're going to be biased. Like there are no unbiased people. So on the one hand, like I'd rather know where somebody stands than not. but if it's more protocol or proper in the code, like in the law, that they have to speak as factually and as objectively as possible, then that is something that we should be very clear about. Did that make sense? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Twyla?
Yeah, this is Twyla Harrington. Well, when discussing this topic, a couple different things come up for me. One of those is I think I do have interest in the thought of communicating better between the two groups, but I think the role as described in the code with it being a counselor has some power differential there that I do think, even though we all get around that does influence us. So I think I would be more open to that if it was somebody that perhaps was not a counselor, maybe another team member or somebody. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, Will Knight. When it comes to not speaking at the meeting, does that include written comments or like a written statement? Because I know myself, and I've heard a few people touch on it too, like I appreciate hearing the argument, like I appreciate hearing the why or the why nots of different things. Do we necessarily need them in the room doing that, or could it be written, something we could look at or read during the meeting? I have a feeling that if we ask for a liaison, 90% of the meetings are going to be so boring, they're not even going to have any reason to be here. It's every once in a while we get a big topic, and I think top 3 voting, and this one might be really the only 2 where we've had.
I don't know. I thought the chicken one was pretty
the
interesting.
I mean, as far as like council members seriously interested in the outcome of the discussion. But yeah, that was a really fun one. But yeah, maybe my thought is that if there's a way for us to be able to somehow get that information, the context, the opinion, without having them here, potentially if we need to ask for a liaison at some future point, we could, and maybe somehow staff and Melissa might be able to help us with bridging that gap in the meantime. Those are just maybe just a couple of questions that I have, and maybe an idea there, if it's allowed for them to send statements or written opinion.
All right, and my 2 cents is every city council meeting that we have is public. If you want their opinions and you want to know where they stand, go to the meetings or listen to their meetings online. I think as a CAC member, I actually probably listen to 90% of the city council meetings. I might miss 1 or 2. I watch them sometimes on the channel that they're broadcast on. Sometimes I'll go in and listen to the recording when I'm really bored at work. But I do think, I mean, they're there for our benefit. We should be listening to them. We should be hearing their opinions. I guess my opinion is I don't need them to come to the meeting to know their opinions. I'm happy to listen to them online and or on TV or in person if I attend the meeting in person. So that's my 2 cents.
Diane Castillo, I have one more suggestion on that. A lot of times when it's kind of a heated topic and then they send it to us, we can remind the CAC that the council just had a deliberation about that topic prior to sending it to us. And then we could be at our choice to watch the previous meeting, and then we will kind of understand some of their intent and motives and their discussion on it before they send it to us.
And that might be something we could actually add to the agenda, Melissa, is if the topic was presented by the city council, just put the date that the city council discussed it so that we can go back and listen to the recordings if we want to.
We can absolutely do, we can absolutely do that. And I can put a link to the recording in too. That's a good idea for me both. Thank you.
Well,
And yes, with that, I think it's a great idea. If I may want to add one caveat to that, and that's specifically a timeline on the video to watch regarding a certain subject. I
yeah.
find it very admirable that you and other people have the time and energy to sit through countless hours of meetings. However, when it comes to
Fast forward every once in a while.
I think it's very admirable. It's awesome. I love that you and Diane and Paul and a bunch of other people are so interested, and I love that. We need that. For me, if it's going to be referred to our table here, I would appreciate that context and hey, these specific minutes. That way we can really drill down on those minutes that we need to cover if it's an important topic. And I could definitely find time for that.
Perfect. All right. Do we have any final comments? Victoria?
I do, because my voice. I do like your idea. I think it is best that we can watch it. We don't need a liaison. And then a liaison, if it wasn't a council member, they'd have to go to all the meetings and this and that. And I just think it would be a hard job. But that is perfect.
Do we have enough information that we can take a vote? Yeah. Melissa, you want to do, well,
So we're looking for a motion then?
probably.
I move that the CAC is made aware via the agenda when topics are being referred to us from the council. And in addition to having it on the agenda, the meeting packet will include any relevant information, including video and audio with specific time marks in them to get us the information we need regarding that particular topic. So motioned.
I second Victoria present.
Okay.
Okay, the motion I jotted down, a quick summary of it, if this is okay, is that CAC packets will include links to the city council reporting with a timestamp to the relevant discussion topic.
And that a special note be made that this particular topic was referred to us by the council. And this is why we're, basically highlighting the importance and sending the information.
Okay, and referred
In lieu of. a
and referred
liaison.
by, in lieu of, yes, in lieu of the liaison. Okay. All right, so I'll take a roll call vote. That will be okay. Vice Chair Knight,
Yes.
Committee Member Wheaton,
Yes.
Committee Member Harrington,
Yes.
Committee Member Lumiere,
Yes.
Committee Member Moon,
Yes.
Lawrence is absent. Committee Member Barney,
Aye.
Committee Member Castillo White,
Yes.
Committee Member Rizzo,
Yes,
Committee Member Hinshaw,
Yes.
Committee Member Chair Reynolds.
Yes.
Okay, that carries unanimously.
Wonderful.
Good job.
Yay.
All right, and now we're going to move on to the city council stipend. And I'm going to start this again with many apologies for the last meeting. I also want to touch base. Amasa, you recused yourself last month from this discussion. Does that stand?
Yes.
All right, just ask that you turn off your camera and mute your mic.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yeah? Did you have something, Chris?
Sorry for interrupting.
That's okay.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify, what was it that happened last meeting since I wasn't here?
Just, we started public comment on this particular topic. And during the comment, because Amasa is married to Councilmember Nick Moon, and Diane is married to Councilmember White, they have the opportunity to recuse themselves from the conversation based on a conflict of interest. And that's what we're doing now. That makes sense? Did it clarify?
So I get that part, it just sounded like something happened at the last meeting.
I just invited the council members to talk at the last meeting. And shouldn't have.
Okay.
That's it. Diane.
Yeah, okay. I'm so sorry. I did not recuse myself last time. I thought I was my own entity and therefore I could make my own decisions. But as Ed Trunke so knowledgeably explained it, he was using words like weird, it doesn't make sense. They could talk about their own stipend, but spouses cannot. And so I was told at a council meeting that I have to. And so I'm willingly doing so.
Okay.
Yes.
That being said, of course, Amasa and Diane, please stay here and listen in. Value your presence. All right, first, if you would, Melissa, just review what the city council is asking us to consider.
Yes, I will bring up the screen here. So at the February 8th City Council meeting, council voted to refer the question of increasing monthly stipends for the council and the mayor to CAC for feedback. So the memo provided last month, if you don't have the memo, if you're here today, I do have printed copies of it if you need a refresher. So in the packet, it's described that City Council is considering amending Troutdale Municipal Code 2.08.245, which would allow them to increase council's stipend from $50 to $200 per month and increase the mayor's stipend from $500 to $750. And so they would like to hear the thoughts of CAC before they continue the discussion at council. So the main question that's been referred to us is, should city council amend TMC 2.08.245 to increase the monthly stipends for councils and the mayor? Again, that's from $50 to $200 and $500 to $750 for the mayor. We can break that question into sub questions if that will be easier for our conversation, and we can conclude our discussion with advisory votes among the CAC. And I will take notes through the meeting and the results of the advisory votes, if that's how we'd like to conduct it. I will jot down and convey to council, and I will share with you, Chair Reynolds, the memo that I write up.
I guess my first thought on this, and the first thing maybe that we should consider is, should this be decided by a committee or should it be decided by being placed on a ballot? I guess that's my first consideration is, are we in a position to speak for all of Troutdale on this? Or should this be one of those topics that all of Troutdale should have the opportunity to speak on? David?
David here. I don't disagree with your question, but as a member of the committee, I think we're in a great position to at least do some fact-finding before that were to occur. Because I personally have a lot of questions about where this is going. Because it sounds like even from the council discussion, they're talking about different things from one another. And I need clarity.
Okay.
And I was hoping that we could discuss in our discussion, try and get to some clarity.
Okay. That works for me.
So may I start with my first
You
question?
absolutely may.
Okay.
Please do.
In the packet, one of the things that I printed out was a discussion, apparently at the budget committee, where they removed $13,800 from the committee budget for this purpose. Well, if that in fact happened, why are we talking about it?
Victoria.
Okay. We approved it. But council has to already vote it in. Anything, we approve the money, so the money's sitting there if the council wants to use it. So they actually didn't use it last year. But I think with inflation, they are thinking, I don't know, I'm guessing. They are thinking they may need an increase in their stipend.
Well, what I have in front of me says the budget committee removed it entirely.
No,
The $13,800 was removed from the budget.
our
13,000.
adopted budget for last year.
You see that?
Oh, that's taking it out of the general fund and putting it into this fund. You have to move it from one fund to another fund.
Okay, that's not clear at all.
Yeah. If you're, it took me a few years on the budget to figure out. You're moving from this to this. So we removed it from that and we put it on this. And like I said, it doesn't look like they used it last year. Because I've got the proposed budget now, and it's in the proposed budget, the same as last year. Okay.
Okay.
My personal, did you want to go more?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I think it's a volunteer position. I think stipends are fine, but also, as Paul pointed out, especially when you're increasing them like that, you will have to pay a federal tax on it. I think, and this way we know where the money was also going, is that they bring in their receipts and then they get money back. So if it's childcare, if they had to take a trip for a conference, whatever, then they just bring in their receipts. And I've been, not that this is a nonprofit committee, but I've been on a lot of nonprofit committees, and that's what we had to do. We spent the money, we brought in our receipts, and then we were reimbursed. And that way, everyone knows where the money went. You can say, oh, look at Councilman so-and-so spent most of his money that month. Every month he spends all this money. And then another councilman may not spend any, but maybe that councilman that spent a lot had to go to different conferences and things, and maybe had to get a hotel and how to do this or how to do that. And maybe there's one that needs childcare for lots of the different meetings, and then they're on subcommittees, things like that. But to me, everybody's worried about, from what I hear, where's the money going? So if you bring in the receipts and you get reimbursed, and we can still keep it at that amount, that will be the amount. We're just not going to have it be a stipend that they just get handed to.
Sorry, David, did you have more?
I did, question 2. Based on the council discussion. It appears everybody talks about the stipend and then talks about being reimbursed. So it appears that what they're asking for is a stipend and being reimbursed for expenses. And that doesn't make sense to me. There's discussion in here about the dictionary saying the stipends to cover expenses not reimbursable. So if that was the case, then, well, first of all, if everything was reimbursed that a council needed reimbursed for, there'd be no reason for a stipend.
Right.
So if there is a need for a stipend, it would generally be quite small because you wouldn't need it for that much unreimbursable expenses. And I think the council is morphing the use of that over time. And I think maybe that needs to be dropped back to its original intent, my opinion. So I just prefer that following the logic of accountability for the council and the spending of government and city funds, that the city essentially just reimburse council for all their expenses. And if there needs to be a stipend, it'd be a small.
One second, I'm sorry. Paul, you had your hand up. Did you want to interject here?
Yeah, I wanted to, this is Paul Wilcox. I wanted to clarify something for David. What happened with budget was the increases were originally proposed by the budget in 2018. And I spoke against the increases, so I'm not sure why else they decided to roll them back. But anyway, in 2018, they were first proposed, and they took a vote to remove the increases from the 2018 budget. It's a 12-0 vote in favor of removing the increases. Then in 2019, the increases were left out entirely. They weren't proposed at all. In 2020, they were brought back exactly the same as in 2018, and they were briefly questioned by one of the citizen budget committee members, Gene Bent, and he was basically put off by being told that the money was just there if the council wanted to, it was being made available if they wanted to change the ordinance, but it wouldn't actually go into effect unless they changed the ordinance. So in 2021 and now in 22, it's in the proposal, and they have a budget meeting coming up actually later this month, I think. Yeah. So they'll have to actually reapprove that again for the coming fiscal year if they choose to do so. But I just wanted to clarify that it is currently in the budget. It's totally available if they choose to utilize it.
Thank you, Paul. Heidi?
Can I ask what's the process currently for reimbursement?
Oh, I guess I do have code on that section that I can share on the screen. I'm not sure the exact process, but I can show you the items that are available for reimbursement.
That would be helpful. Thank you, Melissa.
And that's not part of the stipend though.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, two sections address expenses and stipend. The counts, this section 2.08.240 was not in the packet that was provided last month, but Paul Wilcox did draw our attention to it in the public comment that he submitted in writing. So this section says that, so the first item, if council or the mayor goes to the League of Oregon Cities conference, that they are to be reimbursed for registration, lodging, meals, parking, and mileage. And those are receipts that would be turned in and reimbursed for those specific items. There's another conference that the mayor can be reimbursed for. And then the third item is childcare. So childcare expenses can be reimbursed for council members and the mayor during council meetings, urban renewal agency board meetings, non-city committees, if they're appointed by the mayor to represent the city. And childcare is reimbursable for under 10 years old and cannot exceed $20 an hour. No other expenses can be reimbursed unless pre-approved by city council. And the next section is the stipend section that is what we've been asked to discuss tonight.
Heidi?
Okay, so the reason why last week I said that I thought this was an equity issue is that $50 is very little money to incentivize anyone who is working a lot and might not have a very high paying job to volunteer their time to represent the city and work a lot of hours and not be paid for it. I don't think $200 is very much money to offer to somebody who is struggling to make ends meet, but 200 is a lot more than 50. 200 can pay your electric bill and maybe your heating bill. And to some people that would really matter. And the council members would not have to accept the bill if they didn't feel that it was a financial burden to be on the council. They wouldn't have to take it. But it would help make it more possible for a wider range of people to represent our city. And I think that's very valuable. Thank you.
Yeah, this is Twyla Harrington, and I thought a lot about our discussion, and both my kids are in school, and a lot of the times I look at our community and how diverse it is and how wonderful. But then I look at some of our groups that are representing us, and I don't see our community in that group. And so when I think about this issue, it does come up for me is what is that about? And because these positions are not positions that are paid, are we disincentivizing that because it is a barrier, kind of exactly what Heidi was saying. And so I think if our goal is to have committees and council that is more representative, it's a question we probably should delve into a little bit deeper of why perhaps could this be one of those root causes?
Thank you. Alexander?
Lumiere here. Yes, I agree with both of these opinions. And the offering of the stipend to a person who is working two jobs and having a hard time is valuable as a way of justifying their commitment to the entity that they're going to, and not just going home and doing the laundry, which has to be done as well. But it's also a psychological boost that says, we value your time, your effort, your information gathering, your opinion. And so please belong to us. And that could change the diversity aspect of any of these committees. These are two separate issues to me, and I don't understand why the reimbursement pot is just that, a pot, where individuals are not given reimbursement allowances, but it comes out of a pot. And when the pot is gone, it's gone. And if somebody has to pay for rooftop parking, they get reimbursed. But if they lose money at the casino, they don't get reimbursed. And every decision is taken each at its own time to decide how the reimbursement funds are going to be used. So it seems to me they shouldn't even be discussed as the same kind of issue, because to me they're very different. I don't know any other organization where reimbursement and stipend are in the same discussion. Thank you.
David?
This is David. I disagree with that preceding discussion, because following that logic, and this is an intentional statement, then this committee should qualify for stipends as well, particularly our chair, who spends so much time doing it. But the ordinance doesn't allow for that. It says council only. So there are limitations as to what the government is willing to spend money on. And I think we have to make hard choices as well. And is how much money do you give an elected person just to be on the council? And that's a bigger question.
Heidi?
I see your comment, David, and I raise you. It would be nice if we were all in the same room, because, but don't you think that, I mean, okay, so if you were telling me that this $13,000 that was allocated from the budget and put somewhere else, if that was going to feed babies, and instead we're going to give it as a stipend to the council members, then I'd be like, okay, don't do that. Feed the babies, right? But I don't know the city budget. I don't know how much it is, but I imagine that $13,000 isn't a huge cut of it. Correct me when I'm wrong. But also, crap, I lost my train of thought. I just think we should pay people for their time. I just think it's really important. So if I think of what I was going to say, I'll be back.
Victoria?
I agree with David. Then everybody that volunteers should be paid. Then it's not volunteering anymore. Okay, if we pay everybody that volunteers to do a job, you're not volunteering your time. Okay. And I worked all day. I went home, I took classes online, and then I came to this. And I know how much time Shelley puts in. I mean, we can try and recruit more people that are diverse to get on, but we should not pay people to volunteer. And this is, I mean, what, pay all the Meals on Wheels people, pay everybody that volunteers? You're doing it out of the goodness of your heart and you're doing it to volunteer. And David's right. If we're gonna give them a stipend, then every single committee member on every committee should have a stipend. Because everybody's using their time. Now, like I said, the counselors, and you saw the very few things they're reimbursed for. So if we want to give them more money for other things, we can reimburse them with the receipts. And then everybody knows where the money goes to. And I think in, reimbursing for childcare and things, that should be able to get us volunteers. I think a lot of people don't know that. So I'm just, volunteerism is volunteerism. And that's what makes us great. I mean, so.
Thank you. Heidi?
I don't, Victoria, I don't understand why it's a zero-sum game. Well, I think council probably puts in more time than we do, so there's that. But also I don't understand, I think this came up last week, that it's also almost like an ethical debate about the term volunteering. Like there's something kind of holy about the concept of volunteering. And I guess I just like really deeply disagree with that. I think work is work, and I'm in school full time and I'm working and I'm here, and it is a challenge. And Alexander's doing childcare while he's doing all of those other things too. So I don't think that volunteerism is the be all end all. I think if we want to build a more diverse and equitable society, we value contributing to our towns and our communities. If we want a dedicated, involved, active community, then we have to show that it matters. And I don't think that you have a strong community when only rich people can really do this. Like, I am rich in privilege. Like, I don't have debt. So like, I am here because I am privileged, right? Like, you don't get a diverse background of people contributing to your decision-making unless you make it possible for them. And it's just not possible for everyone to volunteer for free. And I know some people can do it. I mean, but I think it's asking too much. And also, still, again, it's like, it's only $200. Like, we have the money. I don't understand why. It's like, I feel like you guys are morally opposed to it. And I'm trying to understand your perspective and your where you're coming from, but I don't.
I've got it.
Thank you, Heidi. Go ahead, Victoria.
Okay. Sorry, I'm on the Reynolds School Board Budget Committee also. The Reynolds School Board does not have one white person on it. It is a volunteer position. You are not paid. And they find time, and believe me, they're in meetings constantly. So I just want to give you an example of, yes, you can get volunteers to work without getting paid.
Thank you, Victoria. Chris?
am trying to figure out how to word this properly. I guess what I'm wondering is this, so when you talk about diversity, that has to do with people of different races, religions, genders, etc. And I guess I'm just not understanding what diversity has to do with whether or not someone receives some compensation for volunteering for something, because yes, I know there are communities that are considered disadvantaged by some groups of people, but in my experience, you can find people of different races and etc. Like in any group, you can find people that are both, like some that are wealthy, some that are not, things like that. So I'm a little confused on this whole thing.
Thank you, Chris. Oh,
Yeah, kind of going back a second, trying to pull some of these threads out, try to come to a common idea for us, or at least trying to bring some of us together somehow. But I know that there's talk about reimbursable versus non-reimbursable expenses, and I guess that is defined by what the code says. Is that correct? So then non-reimbursable expenses, then, if I remember correct, according to what Paul provided for us, is that the reason they included these statements as well as stipend in there is because there was a bad actor in the past that was taking advantage. And the council at that time wanted to take action towards capping that. And to me, when I hear even in the code, it says lodging and meals, I mean, there's a difference between the Best Western and Sherry's and, the Hilton and Ruth Chris, so I mean, even with that, I think that also kind of plays into, what is appropriate or whatnot. Yeah, I mean, the dollar amounts we're saying are really small, and I think with inflation, that's gonna be a couple tanks of gas here soon, it seems like. So I don't necessarily know it's about the money, but I think that possibly the idea is versus, should a person get straight up pay for being a councilman or a council person or a mayor versus having maybe an expanded idea of what is reimbursable or what's not. Hey, these items would be potentially reimbursable up to a certain cap is kind of, I think, maybe what possibly Victoria and David were saying. Yeah, I guess I don't know how to answer that. And if there's a way to cover some of these expenses up to a certain amount that would be were considered now non-reimbursable, and be able to have some sort of, shed some light on that. If it was going to go over 50, maybe it is the League of Cities and they need to go to a few hundred that month or something, like maybe that could be acceptable. But I think maybe that's kind of the two sides I'm hearing here is, should a person be paid or not, and I'm having a tough time understanding where I sit with that right now.
I think accountability is the question. Does there need to be accountability for the money spent versus no
Okay,
accountability?
that's fair.
Right. Bottom line it here.
Heidi here. Okay, so just because two committee members brought it up, I would like to address the diversity, my comment about diversity. And I will tell you that I was personally thinking about economic diversity. So like your wages. So, a person working at Amazon makes a lot different wage than a lawyer or a doctor. So economic diversity is what I was thinking of. That's a whole other discussion we could go into, but I'll just leave it at that. I would love to hear some reasons why we shouldn't do this, other than just volunteering is supposed to be for free. Like, does anybody have some good reasons other than that?
Well, my showing this that, and I said previously, accountability. People want to know where their money's going. They don't just want to hand out checks. They want to know where it's going.
David?
To Heidi specifically, by the way, I love our debates. You made a statement a minute ago that we're here because we have privilege. And that may be true, but I don't think it's true. I think we're here because we're willing to commit. Not because we're able to commit, but because our mind thinks it's important to be involved. And as far as getting a more diverse group in, examples of trying to get people involved in this committee and other committees every year, it's like pulling teeth. It's not a function of paying people to get people involved in the city. A lot of people start with a committee and then move on to the council. I think people need to have a thought in their head that the community they live in is important and they need to be involved. And this is one way to get involved, is to start here and see what's going on. Has nothing to do with being paid, has to do with their time and their willingness. And that to me is more important. I don't disagree with a stipend per se, but I don't think increasing the stipend is going to change the diversity. I just disagree with the assumption. So that's my 2 cents.
Well,
Yeah, this is Twyla Harrington. I just, and kind of in thinking about your comment there, I've lived in the Troutdale community for a long time, and I've always wanted to be a committee member and serve on committees, but I do, just for this group to add to the discussion, I'm a single mom. And within only the last few years was I in a place financially with work-life balance that I could actually commit to serving on this because of some of the challenges that we have talked about. So I do think it does impact access to people who potentially might want to serve because of their life situation. So.
any other input here?
I guess one more that's just kind of general thing for me when it was asked, like, why it's a small amount of money, why is it important? And I think that the government has the responsibility to kind of scrutinize every penny that's spent. And I think we need to do that because it may seem like a small amount, but all these small amounts keep pulling money out, taxes out from the hardworking people. And when a tax is levied across the city in some way or another, the people that have the least are technically paying the most for that. When there's a solid gas tax of a certain percent, everybody's car spends a billionaire's car only holds so many gallons, and the poorest person only holds so many gallons. Yet, who is taxed more fairly, I suppose. So, anyway, my point being, yeah, I think it is important that we do look at every dollar that's spent one way or another and rationalize it. So, just in general, that's not my staying on this particular subject, but just to the importance of watching taxing and spending, in my opinion.
And the amount for the year is $23,400. So it's not really just a little amount of money.
My point being is if that topic comes up 100 times, and it's just a little bit 100 times, then
Yeah.
that's when things start adding up after decades and centuries or 110 years of being a city.
Any other? Are we ready to close this topic? Paul?
Yes, Paul Wilcox. Seems like you kind of hit the doldrums here, so I'll go ahead and interject my prepared public comment. I recommend that CAC decline to make a recommendation one way or the other on whether the council stipends should be increased. An informed decision cannot be made for several reasons. The CAC does not know what the current council's understanding is as to the purpose of the stipends, whether salary or expense reimbursement. There might even be disagreement within the council regarding that distinction. No explanation has been offered by the finance department or the budget committee as to how the sizes of the proposed increases were determined and on what basis there should be an increase. There's also the matter of whether increases will apply to incumbents, which is currently prohibited. I wanted to stress that because that wasn't in part of your staff report, that that's another major element, whether the increases will apply to the incumbents or not. Based on a reading of the 2010 work session discussions, there did appear to be a fundamental disagreement on how the stipend funds were to be utilized by the mayor and council members. During one of the public hearings for ordinance number 800, the councilor asked, quote, "Would it be possible to donate our stipend to a charitable organization?" Unquote. This seems to indicate that council members are free to use their stipend funds however they choose. It should be kept in mind that there is no accountability required whatsoever in how stipends are spent. And one final comment. I would also remind the CAC members that it was a 4-3 vote by the council to even forward this issue to the CAC for a recommendation. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
And Paul, that's correct. Stipends, you just are handed a check. You're not responsible to say how you spend it. So, and if you do not want to make a decision on this, I am sure the budget committee is on April 18th. And public is welcome. And if we don't want to make the decision, but you want to have a say, I'm sure you can go to the budget committee. And I'm sure this is going to be, it was discussed a lot last year. It'll be discussed this year too.
Jill,
Yes.
could we have Melissa put back up the original directive from council? Thank you. Oh, no, that was it.
There it is.
Am I correct in remembering that the original council increase went from 50 to 500? In a sense, been changed?
I don't recall that. Wait,
Okay.
could you say that one more time?
The stipend increase for the council
Mhm,
from 50 to 200?
mhm.
Didn't it originally say from 50 to 500?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Does anybody else recall seeing
I
that?
don't think that.
I
No.
remember it wrong. Okay, thank you.
There was an error at one point in one of the memos. I think it was off by $50, but it's since been corrected.
Okay.
Heidi?
I mean, it does seem kind of arbitrary. Like, how did they come up with these numbers? Maybe that would help to have some kind of reasoning. Also, what would it take to put it on the ballot? Can somebody remind me of what that process is?
I'm sorry, I don't know the exact process, but I did ask staff if that was a possibility to recommend that. And they said that yes, absolutely, that can be part of our recommendation if we would like to say that. So exact process, I don't know. Does anybody else have a answer to that on how we put it on the ballot?
The city would have to write a title ballot and put it on the next available election if they chose to do that. And
Council would vote to refer it.
yes, that they're referring it to the vote.
And then would there be a write-up so that people could read about pros and cons?
I don't know if there would be a booklet like they have with the state or not.
Because that seems like it would be important to say why we were thinking about it. But oh, I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but was there any talk about like expanding what could be reimbursed? Like Will's point about what like hotel and restaurant is a really good one. Like, is there like a budget for like, you know, when I used to have to do expense reports for people, it was like, you have a $20 budget for breakfast, whatever, you know, $30 for lunch and $40 for dinner or something. I don't know. But is that how it works with our council, or is it more like just give us your receipts and we'll?
The reimbursed ones are that list that you showed. Those are the only things you can get reimbursed for. The stipend may be used for whatever. It's just a check that's given to you.
Right. No, I understand that, but I just like if maybe, I don't know, maybe it would be better to have, if people are really concerned about accountability, which I personally am not. I feel like these are grownups who get to make decisions about their money, but I know I'm kind of weird that way. So if people, you know, like a lunch meeting where you talked about work and you spent $30, like maybe that is something we should consider is having an expanded list of what is reimbursable, but maybe that's a can of worms and I shouldn't have said it. I don't know.
Yeah, if I may, like opening the can of worms sort of thing, I think there was like possibly 3 different options we could do here, a yes and no to that specific question that's on the board, or as Paul suggested, hey, either we're going to sit here and open up a can of worms and burn our wheels and you may not listen to us, or you guys give us more clarification on specifically those questions. What is this for? You know, is it pay? Is it stipend? You know, gather more information from them as far as specifics on what they're expecting this to be used for or not. Because I think David said they're really unclear right now at this point what it is they're trying to say and figure out. So maybe they need to
Yeah, the
give us a
council
little
doesn't
more
even,
clarity.
there's difference in the
Otherwise,
council.
we'll sit here and then we'll send up an 8-3 recommendation and we'll listen to it anyway. So if we put it back on them to
Yeah.
tell us what they're trying to figure out, you know?
Okay, so I guess first I want to ask a clarifying question. So I understand that the stipend is money where they're just given, where it's just given to them, but where does this money come from?
Taxpayer.
Okay, that's what I thought. I want to clarify that. And that being the case, I would first state that I'm not necessarily against them receiving a stipend, but given the circumstances of what this is about, I would feel more comfortable if it were on a ballot rather than them getting to make the decision themselves since it affects them. And also, I mean, it's already been said, but I was going to say what Will said, that I'm not sure I completely have the most confidence in them as an entity after what happened with that top 3 voting things. I just felt like we got a big middle finger basically. Although it sounds like the council's very divided on this topic too, so that's kind of where I'm at. But also with this directive, it's almost sounding like we're supposed to make some kind of decision now, so they'll have it at their next meeting or something. But I personally don't necessarily feel ready to be making that kind of decision because I feel that this conversation has been muddied with some topics that to me don't seem to belong in this kind of conversation, and I do feel like we need more information. So that's kind of where I stand.
Do we want to prepare a list of questions for Melissa or somebody to take back to City Council to further clarify this?
Sorry, can I say one thing I forgot, the last thing I was saying, my primary reasoning for feeling more towards a ballot is because it's taxpayer money, and that way it's them that's deciding what happens with their own money, and whatever they decide they did themselves, basically. I'm done. No, sorry.
Nope, it's quite all right.
I have a couple of questions to kick off then.
Okay.
First question. Why aren't they using the money that's already budgeted? Since it's budgeted and it's just a check given, why isn't the city giving the checks?
Because they want us to decide if they should amend that in order to use that money.
It's written.
The ordinance has to be amended in order to use the money. They can't use it unless the ordinance is amended.
No. They currently have budgeted money
Right, but they
for
can't use
stipends
it.
They do,
under the smaller amounts,
Yeah,
under the,
and they're not using it.
they're not using their current stipends, the
Correct.
50 and the 500.
The 50 and the 500. It was budgeted, not used. So if they aren't using it, it appears to be, from what I remember hearing at a council meeting, up to the individual council members, whether they want it or not. And that to me is weird. You either take it or you don't take it. But it appears to be they have a choice on whether they use it. So my question is, why aren't they using it under its current level? Number two, what do they think they're going to use it for if it's increased?
That it?
Those are
Paul,
my questions.
Paul, go ahead.
Well, thanks, Shelley. Might want to take the screen share down. It's hard to tell who's talking. I wanted to help David out with the current stipends. The mayor is currently getting a check for $500 every month. I think all the councilors except Councilor Glantz are taking the $50 a month. So they are collecting that. So what they're not getting is the difference that the increase provides. So I hope that helps clarify it for you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Will Knight, I guess a question I have, one thing that's kind of come up a lot is the accountability factor, and that potentially, hey, if we're gonna raise it, that's fine, let's have you not pay taxes on it, reimburse you, and we're gonna give you up to a certain amount, I guess, with that. And knowing that the context of this is that there was a bad actor in the past taking advantage of it, and it's the council at that time decided to make these changes. Like, what sort of accountability is there? Like, where is the line between the Best Western and the Hilton? Sort of, is there anything in there? And these non-reimbursable expenses that were such an issue back in 2005, whatever year it was, I have to look. Is there a way to draw a line now that that emotion and those people are out of the way to say, these sort of things would be reimbursable or not? Or is that, again, like Heidi said, too much of a can of worms? I think following up on Heidi's question to send along that be some other information as well. I'd like to know.
Do you have some more, Chris?
I did have one question I've been thinking about. Okay, one big thing that comes to mind for me with this is, in some ways, I almost wonder, like, I might be being kind of suspicious, but I almost kind of wonder about their motive in even referring this to us before a decision is made, because I can see both positive and negative reasons for doing such a thing.
I believe I read that they would not be able, and no one who was a part of making this decision on council would be able to accept the higher amount until they were reelected. So there's no like immediate gain from any sort of decision, from my understanding. If that's what you're reading.
Great. So is this where we want to take it? We want to take specific questions to the city council and ask that the answers to the questions be provided in writing? Is that what we want? Is a memo of some kind?
I like that idea.
Heidi?
We asked them to listen to this.
Send them homework.
Yeah.
I think we could suggest that they listen to this.
I don't know, Melissa, do you feel like you have a good list of questions or?
Yes, and I can include a request from you to listen to the discussion. What I have so far is why is council not using the current stipend, or why are not some of them using the current stipend? What will council use the increased stipend for? Then guidance on reimbursable expenses, like the level for hotel, the level that they're allowed for meals, more clarification on that. And why did council refer this to us? Did I capture your questions okay?
Yeah, I suppose to further elaborate on my specific question I'm trying to answer is, in the light that the fact that this came about originally because there was somebody taking advantage of, who's the watcher, if there was going to be not reimbursable, or even if the idea was let's potentially turn this from a stipend to a reimbursable account with accountability. If that were the case, who's the watcher, who gets to look at that, who then becomes the referee, where we didn't have a referee before, so we made a hard and fast rule. Now we're looking at maybe changing it or loosening it up a little bit. Like, I guess some more clarity on that. If that's an option that may be presented, or a viable option on the table, like, how does that work?
Okay, so if we move to a reimbursement only model, who will decide what the maximum reimbursement is allowed?
Or, I mean, I guess if there was a cap put on it, could be
Mhm.
something else, like a maximum allowable reimbursable. But then, like the idea of, hey, we had to do this because there was a bad actor. We have to, our forefathers, whatever you want to call them, decided that was what they were going to do. We are tasked with looking at this again. How can we learn from that mistake and what they did to then prevent that happening in the future? If we change the system that they changed, I guess that's what I'm trying to get at.
Who's doing the expense report?
Yeah.
Okay,
Question, Melissa.
yes.
When the council and apparently some members of some boards, I don't know why, but they go to the League of Oregon Cities.
Mhm.
I'm hearing two different things. One is a perception in my head, where the city makes the arrangements. There's usually one motel in one city, and the city makes the arrangements for X rooms, for X nights, and everybody goes. So there's nothing to reimburse because the city paid for it up front. The second one is they have an expense, so they can go to any motel they want to and spend whatever they want and then turn those in. Which is it that the city is doing?
I would have to ask about that. It's varied in cities that I've worked in the past. It's varied whether there is a staff person that sets it all up for you, or if you set it up yourself and get reimbursed. When I worked in the past in Washington State for a city, and this applied to staff, there was from the state a maximum level that you could spend on meals and hotels. So we had to stay kind of within that range if we were to travel as staff. I don't know if that applied to our council. So those are good questions. I can find out a little bit more information.
Chris?
Okay, so one thought that came to mind that I thought I would mention here is that I definitely agree with sending a list of questions to council and getting more information before we make any kind of recommendation. But the thing that I'm wondering, I guess the concern I have is, do we have time for that? Because it sounds like council's expecting for us to make a recommendation tonight that they'll have at their next meeting or something.
Well, I think. I mean, they have the option of saying, well, we presented it to CAC, they didn't give us anything, so we're just gonna make the decision. I guess they can certainly do that. The likelihood that they just move it to the next agenda is a little bit more significant. Significantly possible. I don't believe that they would do that. I also don't believe that this is necessarily an urgent topic to be resolved immediately. It's in the budget already. It's likely to be in the budget next time. So if it's in the budget, it's just a matter of amending that ordinance. So I don't think that they're looking for an urgent answer to it. On that note, I just want to say, I'm really sorry. It is so freaking frustrating to have Sandy Bland sitting right here
And you can't ask
and
her
not have
anything.
any answers to any questions.
I know. And isn't it true that this current counselor can't get the raise anyway?
You know, there's an interesting line in the staff report that they provided us.
Okay, that's what I'm wondering.
So in the one that we were provided in March, on the 3rd page, there is a paragraph that begins ordinance restriction on timing. The way our municipal code is written today, it says that the council and the mayor's stipend cannot be increased during their term. But in the staff report, it said that the council is free to modify or delete this restriction, the same as changing the amount of the stipend. So if they're changing code, they can change more of code. So potentially from this conversation, or from their conversation, they might change it so they can increase their own stipend. But and looking further back into state law, state law would say that it's not a conflict of interest for the council members themselves to discuss their own compensation. You can't discuss somebody else's compensation. They can discuss their own compensation without it being a conflict of interest, which is why they could potentially change code to give themselves an increase.
I'm not trying to be overly critical, but I'm kind of wondering why that's even a code. They just throw that.
Okay. Anyone else? Any further questions that we want to present to City Council to further clarify our discussion and move it to next month's agenda? And I'm assuming that that memo would probably come from city manager or the city attorney.
Okay.
Is that right? The memo?
The last memo was prepared by city councilor and signed by the city manager.
Okay. Thanks.
Mhm.
Well,
I move to send the listed questions for a response from council and add it to our next agenda. Once a response is available.
So that
Chris, all right. Melissa, would you like to do a roll vote, please?
The motion is to send the question list to council, and sorry, the second part was to discuss at the next meeting,
Once we have, add it to the agenda once we have a response.
once we have the response. So motion to send this question list to council and add to the agenda once we have add back to the CAC agenda once we have a response. I'll take a roll call vote, beginning with Vice Chair Knight,
Yes.
Committee Member Wheaton,
Yes.
Committee Member Harrington,
Yes.
Committee Member Lumiere,
Yes.
Committee Member Moon is recused. Committee Member Barney. Committee Member Castillo White has recused herself. Committee Member Rizzo,
Yes.
Committee Member Hinshaw,
Yes.
and Chair Reynolds.
Yes.
Okay, that's unanimous.
End of topic. Can we invite Diane back in, please?
Yes.
She up there?
Is she still here?
Amasa, if you're still there, you can turn your camera back on and your mic, and thank you. If it's any consolation, I really missed your input. Staff communication.
All right, thank you. A few updates. First, from the East Multnomah County Transportation Commission. I attend these meetings monthly, and some items to convey to you is that the regional transportation plan is undergoing updates, much like our transportation system plan. So this is the wider regional metros leading an update on this. And there is a survey that's open now. You're welcome to take the survey and share the survey with others in Troutdale so we can have more representation of our needs and wishes in Troutdale. Also, ODOT is looking at tolling currently at the southern end of I-205, and they're also looking for feedback. If we know people potentially that commute for work, or you may want to help inform them about it and help get your opinions about tolling known to ODOT. Also, there is ODOT is starting a new waterfall corridor timed use permit. And you can find out more about this at readysetgorge.com. That is where you can find out how to get a timed permit to go to the waterfall area in the gorge. And you can also find out information about shuttles. So please help share that information. Home Forward will have a meeting for their Community Advisory Committee. This is the third in a series of meetings. It will be on April 13th, 6 to 7:30 p.m. It will be held on Zoom. If you are interested and want to give feedback to Home Forward directly, you are welcome to attend, and you would get an invitation and information on how to join the Zoom call by emailing Leslie Crehan at Home Forward, and I have her email up here. I'm happy to share it if you want to email me, and I can give you the information. So Parks and Rec about 2 months ago now had a open house, and we're now soliciting feedback online for 3 projects. We're being awarded money from a Metro Parks Bond. And the Community Development Department is asking what priority projects would we want to put the money toward. And there was an article in the Champion. There's an article on our website and also on Facebook. I'll try and click to that. Okay. So here it is on our webpage. The 3 that we're asking for feedback on are the 2nd Street Bridge, Sandy Riverfront Park and Trail, and the Beaver Creek Bridge. You can read more about it online or in the Champion. And these are the same projects that we talked about at the in-person open house. And you can give feedback on this by emailing comdev@troutdaleoregon.gov. Okay, so a couple months ago, or over the last couple months, we've talked about potentially having an outreach table, and we'll do just 2 days, the first Friday, May 4th, and movie in the park on June 15th. I'm going to share with you what I have for an outreach table. So I'll stop sharing screens. So I just brought my laptop over here to show the table a little bit more. So we'll have a booth that will be right next to a city staff booth, so we'll share an area. I have kind of a attention grabbing activity here. It should be a fun question to ask people, especially people with kids or people going by. We can ask, how did you get to First Friday? And we have some colorful markers. They can choose their favorite color and tell you that they rode their bike here, put a check mark. And then we'll have some interesting data from this, especially Marley, our event coordinator, is curious how people are getting First Friday. Parking is an issue for some of our events, and she's gone to some great lengths to arrange some parking lots. And we have Sasquatch shuttle will be running, and Ride shuttle will be running to help people get there. And I'm hoping that this question can help transfer conversation into maybe our transportation system plan, which we're updating right now. So, you know, maybe people would say that they wish they'd ride their bike today, you know, that they drove instead. And so you can ask a question about, oh, what stopped you from riding your bike today? Something like this, and that might lead into some bike lanes that we need, or something like this. The conversation, you know, will happen organically from there. And I'll have a takeaway flyer with information about the transportation system plan, a QR code, URL, so they can go give more feedback on our transportation system plan. And that's about the 205 tolling, the RTP plan. There will also be about 1 more week until committee member sign up closes. So there'll be handouts on committee member recruitment. And we can talk to people about CAC, recruit for CAC, or any of the other committees. I'll have a sign up here so they can find out more about just coming and participating at CAC. So this will advertise us here, and a QR code, and our website, our meeting dates. Let people know that they're welcome to come here in person and talk to us, and they're welcome to sign on Zoom and talk to us. A sign up list. We had some more emails. We can send the agenda packet to other people in the community if they maybe wanted to get the agenda packet every month, and then decide if they want to participate. And we've got here, if you want to sign up before you leave or email this out, you can send me an email if you want to shift. The shift will be for half of the event, so half of First Friday, the first half of the second half, or just a part of the movie in the park. So you'll have an opportunity, if you come and volunteer, to experience the rest of the event as well. And I also printed here an email from Kimberly Carl. She's our administrative assistant, the city manager, and she is also recruiting for general volunteer positions. So if you wanted to help more with parking or just something generally at the event, you're welcome to contact her to volunteer as well. So, yeah, before you leave, if you're here in person, come take a look at the booth and see if you can imagine, you know, volunteering at this booth and talking to people. If that's something that sounds like fun to you, and if you think you might get some good conversations out of that activity.
Thank you so much for bringing that in and setting it up and giving us a visual before we show up to the next one. I really appreciate putting the extra work on.
Yeah, well,
I'm
thank you.
excited for the booths.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks.
Has Rebecca Sanchez been rescheduled?
Oh, I can tell you a little bit more about that. We were asked to at least delay her presentation. We do have another committee, the Public Safety and Equity Committee, I believe their title is. And so the city manager asked for us to allow her to present to them first. So as soon as they have that presentation, if we would like her to come back, we can invite her at that time. So yes, and the other topic I had on my list for a future meeting was Sandy Riverfront Trail. I want to give you some more feedback on, or sorry, context and background information about that and where it's heading. So I have that on my list. Is there anything else that you'd like to recommend right now that I can jot down and put on my future meeting list?
So,
Oh, yes.
you want to take this one, Victoria, or shall I?
Which one?
Parking.
Parking? Oh, that's right.
So the Parks Advisory Committee was discussing parking at Glen Auto Park, which is a nightmare. Everybody knows and agrees, right? And what really came to light was parking for the entire city is really kind of a nightmare. So it was suggested that maybe the parking situation should be kicked up to a more comprehensive committee that wasn't dealing with just parks parking, to discuss and maybe do some problem solving and find some solutions to this city's parking problem.
And since we're doing the transportation,
It would kind of fall in with the
Yeah.
transportation topics.
Okay.
Sorry, folks, I ran out of water, so I'm losing my voice.
Yes, absolutely. Bring it up during our transportation system plan discussions. It will happen next month. May 4th is our next presentation. And I will also talk to staff. I think I should talk to my director and the parks director and see which committee and how to refer this issue forward for more discussion. So I will check with staff first and keep you updated.
Thank you. Heidi?
This is Heidi. Shout out Dave Wheaton. I've been thinking about something you said last time. It might have been the time before last, but when we were reviewing the transportation system plan, I believe, and hopefully I'm not misquoting you, but that you mentioned that how are we supposed to vote on a transportation plan that's only focused on the central city or the downtown area? And so I guess my question is are we only looking at the downtown corridor for transportation, or are we looking at the city of Troutdale holistically's transportation needs?
The scope of the project is really come down to mainly the downtown area. So, and part of that is not being able to get more data right now to support changes citywide. So it's a little bit more like an amendment versus a readoption of a full plan. And a partial update.
isn't it too, because we don't have control of a lot of the other roads?
That is true that the county owns many of the roads and facilities throughout the city. But that does not stop us from including them in a full update. So next time.
And then recommending it to the county.
Yes, and recommending it to the county, and that does involve getting onto their transportation plan as well.
Okay. And then second question, I think when we talked about the scope of our year, we talked about reviewing the comprehensive plan. And I just wondered, are we still thinking that, I mean, I know the TSP is part of the comp plan, but like, are we gonna be looking at the whole thing, or what homework do I need to do, Melissa?
I don't have another agenda item that for the comp plan. Was there something specific you were thinking about?
No, I mean, I guess we've already looked at housing, so I thought that we were looking at the whole thing, but maybe I'm misremembering.
If there were an update to the comp plan planned at this time, our group would talk about it, but there's not an update to the full plan planned at this time.
Okay, cool, thanks.
I did, a couple months ago, I did include it, and that was really, what I wanted to show was how the transportation system plan is nested inside the comp plan. So it was more informational and not that we would be changing the comp plan in the near future.
Great. We'll move on to committee member comments. Just gonna start one end and kind of go to the other. Twyla?
Yeah, well, thank you guys. It was a great discussion tonight, and I just, I really value everybody's opinions and thoughts on all the matters we discussed. I did want to thank somebody last time in our discussion mentioned a University of Oregon study regarding Sandy Avenue. And I read that, and it did influence some of the ways I thought about the transportation plan, particularly that spot. So I don't remember who recommended or talked about it, but thank you. Was that you, Heidi, who raised your hand? And I did have some questions about that. I don't know if this is a right time to bring that up. In the study, there were some recommendations of next steps that needed to happen. And so I'm wondering if any of those steps happened, because I think that would influence the stability of the hill and the plans for that road. So it was kind of left out there, and there's kind of a gap for me in between the plan and where that study leads off.
And I would also want to entertain that or continue that conversation as well, because I do have a dog in the fight there as well.
Oh, follow up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Victoria?
Nothing.
Nothing? David?
Thank you. I just wanted to give a little additional update from something Parks has been doing. We've been supposedly working on the update to the Parks Master Plan, and that is going nauseatingly slow. And but there is a discussion at the next meeting that the vendor, the contractor who's doing the plan, is going to give kind of a summary of the various inputs that we've gotten from the community so far. So if you're interested in that, that'll be the 13th of this month at the Sam Cox Annex building.
Also online.
Yeah, at 7 p.m. Also a reminder, your taxes are due by the 18th. Just thought I'd throw that out, just to cheer everybody up. Happy Easter.
Diane?
Let's see, I wanted also to wish happy Easter, and that it's so awesome to see more faces in this room without having to wear a mask, something over the face. So it's nice to see the whole face today.
You can't tell when people grin.
Yeah, you don't know if I'm sticking out my tongue, do you? So good to see everyone.
Chris?
I just wanted to say thank you all for the discussion tonight, and hopefully what we're sending to the council for full, and happy Easter as well.
Yeah, same thing as Diane. Great to see everybody here, and hopefully we'll get everybody back in the room at some point if they so desire. Also, Shelley and Melissa, I know like with the whole thing last month and the council, whatever, don't feel bad at all. Something I've been on here for years and never knew about. And if anything, like the council members should hold themselves a little bit higher responsibility than us volunteers down here. So you guys did awesome, and any comments or hate, just brush them off. You guys did awesome. As well, thank you again for doing that. I think it's the first time all the times we've got a booth, we've got a mock booth set up. So really appreciate the extra work there. And then do I announce now if I want to sign up, or just put it on the list over there? Or
Sure.
I'll take a volunteer for first Friday on the second shift. I'll help tear down.
Great, thank you.
Heidi?
Just good to see everyone. I hope you're all staying healthy, and happy spring.
Thank you. Alexander?
I echo that too. Happy spring. It's going to be nice. I also appreciate that Sandy was here the whole night. At least her profile picture. She might have been doing the New York Times crossword, but it was nice to think that she was in the room. So thank you.
Did I get everybody? It's hard to tell for me sometimes. Amasa, there you go. Amasa? Amasa, do you have anything to add tonight?
Frozen?
She's muted.
I think it's a sound issue.
Oh, there she is.
There you are. Amasa, can you hear us?
Apparently not.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like it.
You have anything for us, Chair Reynolds?
Councilmember Glanz, thank you so much for being here tonight, and Paul, thank you for your input tonight and being present. It is so wonderful to see everybody. It's amazing to actually be sitting in a room with several people and being able to see people I haven't seen, and some people in person in several months, right? I mean,
2
it's
years
been-
since I've been
It's been a
in
while.
person.
Yep. So nothing further to add, except thank you for your patience as I muddle through this, and happy Easter and happy spring, and see you all next month. We have a motion to close our April 6th, 2022.
Oh.
Awesome. Thank you, Amasa.
What's it say? Oh my God.
Her audio is not working, can't hear anyone.
I can relate.
Thank you. To Chris's motion to adjourn.
Second, this is David.
Wonderful. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.